Hello all, I'm Sai and in today's video I'm bringing to you my short spoiler-free review of the Poppy War Trilogy by R.S. Kuang. I started reading this series way back in 2024 and because of certain reasons I was not able to finish reading it in that year itself. I read the first book Poppy War alone back then and I read the next two books inside the series which are the Dragon Republic and the Burning God in January and February. I have read the other two books by the author which are Babel as well as Yellowface also, and I can say that of all the books that I've read by R.S. Kuang so far, Babel is my most favorite. After that I can say the Poppy War Trilogy is the best and at last we can say Yellowface. It's not like any of these books are bad at all, but just in order to rank them, I'm saying them in such an order. So without any further ado, let's get into the various sections of the review right away. Let's talk about the plot first. Here we follow our main character Rin or Fang Ronin, who lives in this very small village called Tikani, and she's a war orphan right there. She's taken care of by this couple who's doing a lot of opium trade that is illegal in this part of the country. And while she's stuck there, she just wants to get out of the village and do something with her life. So she tries to educate herself and take this exam called the Keju. It is a super tough exam and only very few people who are super privileged also get to clear the exam. And if she clears the exam, she gets to go to the school called synagogue where she'll be trained in both politics, war as well as a lot of other things in order to run the country from a political standpoint, with all her tuition fees covered by the government itself. She ends up clearing the Keju and she also tops a small district or town where she is writing the exam in, and after that she gets into synagogue. Why she gets into synagogue, it's not like she expected it to be, because there are people from all over the country who get into the institution and there's a lot of classism and racism that happens there. Now in the same country, Erin is from the southern part where the people usually have darker skin, and she also has an accent which is southern for her. Because of all these reasons, she is very much ill-treated by the higher classes of the society as well as people from other parts of the country as a whole. What all happens in synagogue and what is the actual plot of the story when something happens between nations inside this book is the plot that we follow throughout the Poppy War Trilogy. The story starts out like a young adult story that happens inside a school, and after a point what happens is the things become huge and it's not about the school anymore. There are so many huge players at stake right now and they are all playing the game. How these children who are very young that have been through so much because of synagogue itself are going to do with their lives, and will they end up saving themselves and the other people around them is the plot of this book. All the enmity from their childhood just dissipates and the huger threats that loom over them as a whole comes into view. The author develops that properly, and if you're someone who's very much used to reading YA series alone and want to get into an adult series which can just blow your mind away, I suggest you to try the Poppy War, because it starts out like a YA story and then gets into pretty grim dark adult. If you cannot stomach some horrible stuff happening to people, don't read the series. If you can, read through all the trigger warnings and then go forward and read the books, because for this plot itself, I think the author must have taken so much time because it is really well done. Moving on to the characters, we have our main character Rin. Apart from her, we also have some other students from the synagogue itself who are Naja and Kitai. Of these two, Kitai is kind of the best friend that Rin has throughout the series, and Naja is the rival that she has who also becomes a very grave enemy at times. Apart from these three, we also have this other girl named Venka who's from a very privileged background inside the school. All these people are really good in what they are doing and that's why they got into synagogue itself. What all happens with them in the rest of the series is followed really well here, and the development of each and every one of the characters whom we see here, not just Rin, is done really well by the author. The main thing which I liked about the characters here is that they're all teens and they have different kinds of development that is going on because of all the things that they are put through inside the series, and the way in which each and everyone reacts to certain things is very different, okay? And we don't see like any drastic change in characters that is happening for any of the characters here, whether it be Rin or Kitai or any of the other characters too. One thing which I observed really well when it comes to people who have read the series is that they either end up loving Rin so much or just completely hating her, but I don't think it's that easily possible at all, okay? The first thing which we have to consider here is that she's a female main character, and because of that itself, people are just going to have like a ton of opinions because she is a female there, and the way in which the author made her take some choices was really good if you ask me, because Rin is totally in command of her life at various instances throughout the series. She decides what she has to do with her knowledge. She decides what she has to do with her body. She does not let people just take control of her for most part of the story at all. Since she is a war orphan, obviously she does not have a background, she does not have privileges that most of the other characters inside the series has, but she has her own power, which is the shamanism that she's developed because of certain things that she's learned, and this connection which she has with the god named the Phoenix, who's present in the other realm of the world. Despite the humans whom we see here, there are also gods who come into play, and their characters are also very well done by the author, especially the Phoenix. When you start reading the series and see these covers, you can clearly see that each and everything has something very strongly going on inside the book that has been depicted on the cover, and I have no words to explain how good they are. But as a whole, the character work inside the series is super well done because each and every one of these characters is very realistic. They behave like people who are at war right now and not just people who are observing the war, and I think that's something that is very masterful from the author. Moving on to the world building and the writing, it's pretty much obvious, at least for me, okay, this is my understanding of the series, that all the countries or landmasses or, territories that the author talks about here are fictitious versions of the places that actually exist for us here right now. For example, most of the book takes place in a fictitious version of China because it parallels a lot of Chinese history inside there. And there's also a lot of parallels for Japan as the small island nation that is shown as the Muginese nation inside the series. How there's a war that is going on between the Muginese as well as these people forms a major portion of the plot for the entire series itself. And apart from this, we also get to see some other parallels or versions of the Western countries who have obviously gone forward and disrupted the Asian countries, as we all know. The parallels that she has used from the knowledge that she has gained from the history and using actual war times that have happened as scenes inside her book for the characters happening is something pretty brutal, okay? Especially in book 1, I don't remember the chapter's number exactly, but there is this 1 or 2 chapters, somewhere around 50 or 60% when you're inside the book, that chaos happens, okay? When you read those 2 chapters, you will want some time to process what you read because it has so many heinous crimes that have been committed. And the worst part is that all these things have actually happened in the history of China, which is completely horrifying. Okay, it's not like those things have not happened in other countries, but it's been documented in their history, and the author uses them to properly show that all these crimes have happened, and it's not like we can just walk past them. So just for that reason itself, please do look out for the trigger warnings and then read the series because all 3 books have the same kind of horrors going on. But the thing about the first book is that it has all these horrible things crammed into those 1 or 2 chapters, and it is completely concentrated there. And in books 2 and 3, it's more evenly distributed if you ask me, so it's easier to get through books 2 and 3 compared to book 1 because, of the amount of intensity and strength that those 1 or 2 chapters have. As a whole, the writing as well as world building was nice. World building was okay, but the writing was just excellent. If you ask me, in terms of world building also, the author did politics much better compared to any of the other aspects of the world building, and I think that's most necessary for a series like this one. So as a whole, the writing as well as world building are just wonderful. Finally, talking about the pacing, I can say that the first book, because of the transitioning that it has from the school into the actual world, it is much more fast-paced compared to the second and third books. And in books 2 and 3, the pace is even more, consistent. If you ask me, it doesn't move as fast as the first book does, but it does not go slow either because there is so much action packed inside these books. You see actual battles and wars being fought by the characters here in both normal military style as well as with magic. And when it happens with magic, trust me, it is colossal. Okay, it's not normal at all. It happens on a huge scale. I personally have not read any other series that shows war as well as this series has so far. It may also be due to the fact that I have not read as many military fantasy ever before. So what I saw here was just amazing. I'm not saying it is good or bad, okay? I'm just saying that it's amazing the way in which the author showed it to us. So after reading the series and also the other 2 books by the author, I can for sure say that I'm a huge fan of the author right now, and anything that she puts out in the future, I'm there to read it. And one more important thing which I know will piss off a lot of people when I say is that these books don't have romance, and I just love that about it. So as a whole, I rated the first book, the Poppy War, 4 stars, the second book, the Dragon Republic, 4 stars, and the last and final book, the Burning God, 4.25 out of 5 stars. So yes guys, that's it for my spoiler-free review of the Poppy War Trilogy by R.F. Kuang. If you have read the trilogy, please do let me know down in the comments and we can discuss more about it. Just make sure that you don't spoil it for the other people who have not read it. And if you did find this review useful, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. If you want to get more content from me, do subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching and have a great rest of your day.